Welcome back to Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes. This is a talk video, and we are here for the culmination of the Jedi Survivor Journey event that is on its way, and the Jedi Knight Cal Kestis kit looks pretty promising. I think the floor for this character is a strong Melgus counter. So we're going to look at the insights, break down, and analyze the kit. I'm going to give some quick final thoughts on the Omicrons and some modding, and then we'll wrap up with the free-to-play gearing of my roster. With Journey Cal Kestis, we get a Jedi attacker with a different playstyle, a powerful, unique, and a light but solid leadership. The attributes portion here gives us a few important pieces of information here in the bullet point. There's unique mechanics, territory battle focused Omicrons. There's some strong Jedi synergy, possibly some even JML lifter capabilities here. There's dispel on basics, stat buffs to the teammates, and instant defeat with impetuous assault. Strategy tips has a couple things to help guide how we're going to approach this. They emphasize learning how to alternate the specials. That is going to be important with how it affects impetuous assault, and the second special is going to be very powerful for Jedi characters. And now for our kit reveal and breakdown. We'll do some of this a little bit differently, particularly with the specials. The basic less civilized age, physical damage and dispel to the target. If it's his turn, unblock the specials, and Jedi Knight Cal Kestis gains a bonus turn so that he can utilize them. During the bonus turn, he gets to ignore taunt and gets to use one of those specials. Dispel on the basic, that is always powerful and useful. Right now we have a number of Jedi options with Jedi Knight Luke, Shakti, Ahsoka. They all have dispels on basics. Jedi Knight Cal Kestis is just going to give us more potential variations that we can utilize here. Now, before we get into the specials, this is where things are quite a bit different because of how configuration and how these turns work. So there's some things that we want to understand going in, because otherwise it's going to get a little cumbersome. So with these specials, these configurations, which we can think of as similar to Cam's stances, but they aren't exactly the same, or so CG says. So the configurations here are double-bladed, dual-wield, and crossguard. Each special grants the configuration, and if the player wasn't already in that configuration, it grants a series of effects, which you're going to want, so we're going to be alternating between these configurations each time that we do our basic and get that bonus turn. Because as we switch between configurations, that's how we're going to get stacks of impetuous assault, which is going to be very important to how we utilize this character. Now with the first special, this is Whirlwind Slam. It does have an Omicron. This ability gives the configuration double-bladed, and if you didn't already have double-bladed at the start of the turn, you get 5 stacks of impetuous. And that condition there is why we are going to be constantly switching between these configurations, because that's the only way to get stacks of impetuous, and it's the only way to get all these bonus effects. Now, double-bladed itself, that is plus 50% offense and tenacity, and plus 2 speed per stack of impetuous. So we're going to be very incentivized to get those stacks, and he is going to get faster and faster with them. Now what this ability does in general is it's an AoE physical damage and inflicts speed down. If Jedi Knight Cal Kestis did not have double-bladed at the start of his turn, all allies gain advantage, stun the target, and inflict armor shred, and there is an AoE daze on top of everything else. Now obviously with effects that strong, you are going to want to switch between configurations to gain access to those kinds of bonuses. But with the Omicron, a territory battle one, it works slightly differently, where you may not want to do that, because how this reads is the next time Jedi Knight Cal Kestis uses windmill defense, he recovers health and protection. AoE grants all allies protection up stacking for each use of Whirlwind Slam since the last use of Windmill Defense. So you'll be able to get more protection up by constantly using Whirlwind Slam before switching between them with the Omicron. So that is one unique mechanic that as we play the event, maybe there is some incentive and reason to do that. The other portion of the Omicron here is if Jedi Knight Cal Kestis didn't have double bladed at the start of his turn. Instead, all allies gain advantage, AoE stun, and inflict armor shred on all enemies. So that Omicron is kind of insane. Armor shred, AoE is nuts. If the new territory battle gives us enough of an incentive to place on these Omicrons, I'm sure this one is going to be pretty important. We have not seen Armor Shred ever be applied like this before. Now with the second special, Windmill Defense, this is a Zeta ability. This ability gives the configuration dual wield, and like the first special and how that configuration worked, if you didn't already have dual wield at the start of the turn, you gain those 5 stacks of Impetuous and some bonus effects. Now with the configuration dual wield, what that does is plus 100% counter chance, plus 50% defense, and enemies have minus 2% offense per stack of Impetuous. And when another ally attacks out of turn, this character is called to assist. So that is going to be very powerful with Jedi Knight Revan, with JML, any Jedi character that is calling assists. This is going to be able to be taken advantage of while Cal Kestis is in this configuration. With the base portion of this ability, what we are seeing here is an AoE cleanse to all allies, call a target ally to assist, and Jedi Knight Cal Kestis gains protection up 50% stacking. If Cal Kestis didn't have dual wield at the start of his turn, Cal Kestis gains riposte, all Jedi allies gain protection up stacking and retribution, and the target ally gains a bonus turn. The third special ability is Impetuous Assault. This is a Zeta and Omicron ability. This gives the configuration Crossguard, and what Crossguard does is plus 50% critical damage and defense penetration, minus 25% defense and speed, and deal an additional 25% of this character's max health as damage when attacking. Now the major portion of this ability to be aware of is that this ability cannot be used unless Cal Kestis has 30 stacks of Impetuous, and part of that reason is because the first time you use Impetuous Assault, this ability instantly defeats the target. So it's basically like Cat's Force Leap. The main portion of this ability deals physical damage to the target, inflict ability block and stagger, and it has an AoE inflict of Force Influence. All other allies will gain defense penetration up. And then as a reminder, Force Influence, that is from Kyle Katarn's kit, and when an enemy has that debuff, they can't assist, counterattack, or gain buffs. Now the territory battle Omicron portion of this ability here. Impetuous Assault deals an additional 10% of the target's max health per Jedi Knight Cal Kestis relic amplifier level. After Impetuous Assault is used, Cal Kestis ignores protection and all allies gain 300% of Jedi Knight Cal Kestis' base offense for the rest of the battle. All that is fine. I'm less inclined to apply this Omicron. Now obviously the big thing within this ability here, but really the kit in general, it's the instant defeat. This is like Cat, but instead of Cat having Jedi Master Kenobi to trigger it, now we are in a situation where we need to utilize Cal Kestis in a specific way in order to unlock this ability as quickly as possible. Effectively, this ability is on cooldown, so we are going to want to try and access it as early as possible within our turns to get an advantage. Now with the leadership ability, Weight of the Galaxy, this is an Omicron ability. This is a surprisingly short ability, especially outside of territory battles. Jedi allies gain plus 50% defense, counter chance, and offense. Now, although this ability sounds light, that's more because we've been conditioned by these super complex leadership abilities. In reality, I think this is solid leadership. I won't be discouraged to use him as a leader, and because of other aspects of his kit, particularly the unique, I think he'll be just fine as a leader, and especially within those Melgus's contexts that I alluded to earlier in the video, I think he can still beat Melgus as a leader. Now with the Omicron portion of his kit, at the battle start, allies gain plus 100% of the max health and max protection, and plus 300% of Jedi Knight Cal Kestis' defense. At the encounter start, allies gain plus 25% turn meter and frenzy, defeated enemies can't be revived, and stacks of impetuous persist across encounters. Like, you're going to want this one. If you apply any of the Omicrons, this one is obviously going to be it. This is a crazily strong Omicron. For me, it's really going to just depend on what are the incentives that CG gives us within the new territory. With the unique ability, Jedi Survivor, this is a Zeta ability. Jedi Knight Cal Kestis is immune to ability block, fear, and stun. When another Jedi attacks out of turn, Jedi Knight Cal Kestis recovers 20% health. All Jedi allies are immune to cooldown manipulation from enemies, and when a Jedi ally is inflicted with fear, they gain damage immunity and 60% turn meter. Whenever Cal Kestis gains a configuration, he gains 5 stacks of Impetuous, and what Impetuous does is plus 1% offense and defense per stack. Abilities have additional effects. Now this unique here is why I think he is going to be a Melgus counter. The only question is how many other quality Jedi do we have to pair with him in order to make that successful or reliable. The big portions here, the cooldown manipulation, that's going to negate a lot of what Melgus does. Being immune to fear and stun and ability block means Cal Kestis is going to have full access to his abilities, and the portion of when a Jedi is inflicted with fear, gaining damage immunity and turn meter, they're going to be going constantly, and they are going to be prevented from being damaged consistently. And then the extra stacks of Impetuous are just going to speed everything up along. And then Impetuous Assault is going to give you a very quick and easy mechanic to eliminate Melgus from the battle. And then obviously this would also work as a Darth Revan counter. It's going to depend on what you are able to beat when you pair him with JML, but I would not be surprised if he just becomes a dedicated Melgus counter, especially because he's a journey event character, going to be easier for newer accounts to get. So for them to be able to go up against some of these very strong, difficult late game accounts, this gives them a little more early access character in which they can stand up to a character like Melgus, who's so hard to get in Proving Grounds. Now for some final thoughts, Omicron Order, leadership because it's crazy good, first special because AoE Armor Shred is pretty intense, then the third special, they're all good, but for now I'd play it as more of a wait and see what's mandatory and what's skippable other than the leadership. And then we also would want to see what kind of special rewards are on that node. In that case, I might be more inclined to add additional Omicrons because I would be looking to reduce the RNG needed to guarantee completions. With modding, I think it's going to depend on game mode. Like, the Omicrons give some intense stat sharing where modding for defense is going to make a ton of sense because of the leadership ability, but even that third special Omicron gives enough offense where it might be worth considering modding him for offense or splitting up like an offense and defense set. And then in the other game modes though, I'd consider modding him for health because of the crossguard configuration where the damage is boosted from health. Other than that, we're going to want to make him as fast as possible. So other than that, you're going to want to make him as fast as possible. And pairing him with Jedi Knight Revan in particular is probably going to be pretty important because of the turn swap that Jedi Knight Revan offers and how they're going to synergize together. I'm assuming Jedi Knight Revan's probably going to be faster. It seems like Cal Kestis is going to get faster throughout the battle, and then he'll probably be able to catch up, but his base speed is probably not going to be at a point where he's going to be able to catch up with Revan. So I imagine the battle is going to go Jedi Knight Revan takes a turn, marks somebody, Cal Kestis takes a turn, gets into a configuration. Revan's going to go again. You're going to turn swap onto Cal Kestis. He's very quickly going to take a turn, get more stacks. Then you're going to want to use that special onto Revan to give Revan a bonus turn, which is going to put Revan back into a position where very quickly he is going to be able to get to another turn swap. But already at that point, with how quickly those stacks of Impetuous Assault are getting, you only need to get 30. Within a couple turns, you're going to be able to get to that instant defeat ability. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow and seeing what kind of impact this character is going to have in the game. I think it's going to be pretty meaningful. Definitely a lot better than some of the other weaker journey characters that we have received in the game. Now for me, I won't be unlocking him the first time around. It's free-to-play player. That is just not enough time for me to farm those characters, but hopefully it's on a 3-month cadence. Now we're going to wrap up with the free-to-play gearing of my roster. This is the gearing from May 21st. Now this one might get a little long here. We did a lot. Now we start with Cal Kestis. This is at which point he was fully farmed. He's a really fast farm on a very cheap node. So that is one nice benefit. Is why actually during the double drop event, I didn't really farm him too much just so I could actually focus on signal data more, which is actually a shift for me. But on such a cheap node and being the first character, I knew it wasn't a concern. Here I'm taking Mara Jade up to Relic 7 for the Datacron. As a free-to-play player, Datacrons are one of the more annoying but effective advantages you can build for your roster just because of how many people ignore them. Now it looks like we might get Conquest simming, or at least the treasure node simming, and that I'm actually have mixed feelings on it because it means that my advantage will be shrinking. You remove pain points, that means more people are going to participate. Visas here we're taking up to Relic 5 because of the Mara Jade Kron as well. We got to have a full team at Relic 5, and she was a character who needed it anyway, but that was the final incentive to do it now, or at the time when I did this. Newt here, same deal. This is all about Datacrons. Taking him up to Relic 5 for the Admiral Trench Datacron. But one of the side benefits here is, I'm kind of falling into Lord Vader. Just a lot of his requirements are just making a decent amount of progress. We might even look at it a little bit later. It might be in this little video here. Now armor, this is for the raid. And what you're seeing here are just a lot of the effects of all these little things that are happening. Now with the raid, just wanting to maximize some of those personal rewards. It's actually one thing with the personal reward track. I feel like CG overcorrected. I wish we would get more out of the personal reward track, just to incentivize guildmates and ourselves to invest there, because you can build out some strong teams and it's making a difference of 50 Mark III tokens. Like it's not meaningless, but it's not a lot. Now, Solo here, I should actually make a video on this, but with Ben Solo, I just love this character. He can do a lot of stuff. I don't have Rey. I have JTR. You can see some of my Grand Arena videos where I just use him basically to blow up Maul. Doesn't always work. I think I need to tweak some modding, but it works enough. And you still win even when it doesn't work. Ventress here, this is also because of the Trench Cron. Because I don't like to use... Like, yes, you should use Jango with your Trench. I don't like to take him from my Maul. Because I still want to have a decent Maul squad. So I threw Jango... so I leave Jango off so I can throw Ventress in. Embo here's... This is another thing that I was saying about Lord Vader. We're making incremental progress towards Lord Vader, but partly on accident. Embo here, it's more for the raid. To give myself a Hut Cartel team. And it is to boost my Jabba squad. Grief here, just taking a look. He's a character I want to take up. A number of these characters I want to take up to relics. There's the Cal Kestis progress as of a month ago. We're obviously much further along now. And here's what I'm talking about with Lord Vader. We're just kind of falling into these requirements. And with the new raid rewards, that's already far more advanced than it was at that stage. So here's what I was scoring a month ago. I'm exceeding those numbers now. I'm hitting 4.25 in personal rewards, at least when I get the RNG to hit the points. And now doing a couple additional gearing for the raid. So the Tuskens, I'm taking, or am I not? Maybe I decided against it. So just looking at some of the characters, I'm a Gandhi, taking him up to gear 11, fairly cheap now with the raid changes. So that's not really detracting me from anything. We're doing the same thing with Kit Fisto. I am always trying to make sure that I gain an advantage on the game. No, they obviously don't have a major use right now. But you see how quickly things are changing with Captain Rex and the Phoenix, how quickly things have changed with some of these unaligned Force users, with Wookiees, with some of the Rogue One characters with Saw Gerrera. CG is making everything have a use. I highly recommend you farm everything as early as you can so you're not playing catch-up, and that you gear things up, especially cheap things. Gear them up so that you can take advantage and be ready before CG makes changes. You don't want to be catching up with everyone else, because then you lose a window of opportunity when you can have an advantage, or you'll have benefits in things like Conquest. Like, because I do this gear 11 thing, Conquest is easy for me. Like, I'm never have issues with feats. Like, some of them I might have to do some wonky things around, but usually not that often. And every month the game goes on, it gets easier and easier for me. And it's not because I have relics. It's because the game is so favored towards new characters and new releases that just having them gives you an advantage. And CG, that's one of the big changes of Conquest since its inception to now. Like, so much of the game is being tailored towards these marquee releases. I really think focusing on them so that you can at least utilize them it really pays dividends for your roster. The cat messed up a record of the outro. We are re-recording right now. What was I saying? Secret Invasion. I like it. Maybe it's because I adjusted my expectations, because after the trailer came out, it looked too action-oriented for me and not enough spy thrillery than me, and I knew that Andor was going to make me it was going to make me want more. So I just took it down a notch. And because I adjusted my expectations, I think it's fine. It's good enough. Other things, I'm going to be attempting another watch of Rebels. Every time I've tried to watch it, it doesn't sink its teeth in. I think it's fine. I like it enough. I just get into a mode where I'd rather watch something else. But thank you for watching. Be excellent to each other. This is Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.